I don't know if you appreciate those what happens next type of videos. You know the ones I mean. The ones where the video starts and all of a sudden it stops and we have to guess what happens next. Sometimes life can be like this, and instead of bringing us humor by showing an epic fail video, for example, it may bring us concern in the uncertainty of what is actually going to happen next in our lives. Moving on can be really difficult because it moves us on from what we know and what feels comfortable. The end of something can be hard. Let's be honest, the start of a holiday is far more enjoyable than the end. And so I realize that for some of you watching, you're finishing your time with Scripture Union in school. For others watching, this may not be you this year, but your time will come. So learn what you can with what time you have left from these people. You'll hopefully have picked up the logo shown at the start of this video. And it said the word liminal. Now you may be wondering, Phil, what on earth does liminal mean? Well, a liminal space is one where you're between one safe place and another. It's in the dangerous crossing. It can be described as the confusing in-between or the neutral zone. And so as you leave school and before you start whatever God has for you next, you will find yourself in that liminal space. We have a 5-week video series looking at truth, time, treasure, talents, and team, and explore how to navigate these subjects in the new spheres you'll find yourself and on into adulthood, which your SU leader can point you to at a later point. But as you find yourself nearing that liminal space, I wanted to share with you some of God's words to leave you with as you leave this place. These words come from the writer of the Bible book of Hebrews. You'll find them in chapter 12, and this is what the first 3 verses say. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So here's what I want to share with you from these verses. Get ready to keep running the race for Jesus. Get ready to keep running the race for Jesus. Verse 1 tells us of those who have gone before, those cloud of witnesses that have shown us what a life of faith looks like. And we see this in the chapter before this. Because in chapter 11, we see this hall of faith. People who have gone before. And so by looking at the likes of Abraham, Joseph, Moses, and the list goes on, we're to see that to run this race of faith, we need to get ready. We need to free ourselves from those things that will hold us back from running with Jesus. Those things that we know keep us from God and we get so easily mixed up in. You know what those things are in your life. Don't worry, I'm not going to get you to share those things with one another. But it might be a good thing to do that at some point. Now, the same way we look at athletes in a race, they come in wearing the right shoes, the right clothing. They throw off the baggy hoodie, the heavy jeans, because they're getting ready for their race. And so what do you need to throw off as you head towards this liminal space to keep running the race for Jesus? And remember that you will become one of those witnesses to the younger ones in your SU. You will become one of the ones that has gone before. They may remember something that you shared, something you did, some way you acted or interacted for Jesus. Your influence has mattered, and your influence will matter wherever you end up. And more than that, you matter. Get ready to keep running the race looking at Jesus. Get ready to keep running the race looking at Jesus. Because we then read this, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Jesus died for you. And we keep going in this race because we see the perseverance Jesus showed. He was the one who set the path for us to follow. He was the pioneer. And so we know that our race won't be easy either. But he's also the perfecter. So we believe, we trust, we look to him. He is the one whose work of bringing us to God is finished. And what do we usually do when we finish something? We sit down. And that is what Jesus has done. And he sat down at the place of authority, the right hand of the throne of God. So no matter what happens next, let me encourage you to fix your eyes on Jesus. He saw the bigger picture. He saw the ultimate joy of the cross that allowed him to endure. And so let me encourage you to do the same. See the bigger picture of what God is doing. Keep looking at Jesus. And finally, get ready to keep running the race considering Jesus. Get ready to run the race considering Jesus. Verse 3 says, consider him who endured such opposition from sinners so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. There may be times ahead that you will feel weary. You'll feel like giving up. The joy of the comfortable space of SU will be gone. The warmth of familiar people and familiar walls won't be there. And it can cause us to want to give up, to lose heart, to throw away our faith, instead of throwing away the sin that so easily entangles. And that can happen because of opposition that we face. Don't be deceived. If you stand up as a Christian, you will face opposition. But that makes sense. Because if the one we follow faced opposition, and he's the one who not only calls us to take up our cross and follow him daily, but endured the cross for ultimate good and his ultimate glory, then it picks us up and reminds us that we don't need to grow weary and lose heart. So pass the baton of good news on. Maybe through your influence in school, you'll realize you've done that. And hopefully, I pray, as you continue where God leads you to next, keep going, keep growing. We're for you and we're praying for you. But more importantly, you have a God who is for you. You have Jesus who is praying for you and interceding on your behalf to God. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So no matter what happens next, get up and keep running.